Hey guys, welcome everybody to the digital edition of the Exchange 2020. This panel is going to be specifically about how artists can make a living during and after the coronavirus pandemic. I'm very glad to be joined by two very, very close friends and people who we worked together over many years. This is Aayushman Sinha, who runs Represent Management. He has taken his artists all over the world, including Tomorrowland, Mysteryland, Wembley Arena. He's done a lot of different digital partnerships, including with Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and is really, really clued in to the digital space. Also, we're joined by Nikhil Udupa, who runs 4x4 Experiences, all around scene legend, also runs Control Alt Delete, and manages a pretty wide variety of artists as well. So guys, thanks for taking the time for our chat today. And I'm just going to jump straight into the questions so we don't waste any time. I'm going to open with Nikhil. So Nikhil, basically, obviously, we're in a totally different world than we were pre-coronavirus. And I just want to ask, how do you think alternative artists should look at this? You know, obviously alternative artists work in a very different way from the more mainstream commercial artists, but specifically for independent artists, how do you think they should look at this coronavirus situation? Are they kind of looking at this as a short-term thing? Should they be looking at this slightly longer term? How have your sort of artists taken it?
I don't think so there's anything short-term about it. I mean, optimism is one thing, but this really changes the game as we know it. I mean, I do expect us to come back to normal, sort of normal, maybe like in a year and a half or so, with, of course, with major changes. But definitely for, artists who are not out of the mainstream, maybe even mainstream artists, you have to look at it as something from a long-term point of view where you see yourself maybe not touring or maybe not doing gigs for at least another 7-8 months. At least prepare yourself for another 7-8 months. Now the main part with alternative artists is that most of the revenue does come from gigs as compared to like brand deals or
Sure.
endorsements or even streaming revenue for that matter. So it's a big hit. The biggest thing that I keep telling at least my artist friends and artists that I manage is that, man, this is real. Like, you can't escape from it, or don't look at it ki haan theek ho jayega teen char mahine mein, let's just do a thing. I have encouraged people to kind of think, use their skill set beyond just a performer or beyond just a stage presence. So pushing a lot of my artists to develop alternate skill sets, like very simple, I'm pushing them to edit their own videos. Maybe just a small thing, but just the wisdom of saying that I can kind of maybe create my own content, asking them to research more about production techniques, figure out how the best they can stream, just put a little bit of ball in their court as to what they can do from the given confines of their house.
Sure.
Other than just thinking about, oh, when will the live scene come back, it's never going to be great, I don't know what's going to happen. I'd rather focus them to what they have in hand. So that's been the approach so far.
So you're trying to keep them optimistic, basically, or overall, and try to kind of develop different skills. So Aayushman, I mean, with you manage some of the biggest names in the country. How have you seen them sort of react to coronavirus? Have you seen them try to focus on other skills? Have you seen them try to focus on other sort of ways? And of course, as management, how have you diversified their revenue streams?
I mean, to be honest, a lot of our artists have been happy about this. At least in the short term, they're very happy about this break right now, because they've been able to work on a lot more music than which they've been waiting for the longest time. So we've seen a lot of music come out in this entire 40-day break so far. I'm getting at least 3 to 4 completed songs every single day, which is not something, which is the best thing for any manager to happen. The more and more music you get, I mean, the best position you could possibly be in. We've also seen a great surge in collaboration requests, as well as artists who we want to collaborate with responding to us very openly now, saying that, we have time at hand, let's put this together. So on the music side, it's in a great space. we have obviously been trying to push them into different sources of revenue as well. So we've started working a lot more with brands, and I think the most common thing which any brand is going for right now is trying to build a live module where they can increase engagement on their page using on the back of an artist.
Sure.
So that's obviously been happening a lot. It's not very well monetized yet, but it's getting there slowly and slowly with different kind of artists getting into the mix. Other than that, we're also so we've got an artist like, for example, Monica Dogra, who's other than just being a musician, she is also very big in well-being and personal health. So she's been
Sure.
conducting, she's been working with different brands to conduct workshops with them, etc. So those kind of revenues are popping up as well.
Great. So with the content stuff that's coming out, I mean, I agree with you. There's nothing better than getting finished content that you can just pull the trigger on. Are you looking at releasing that content during this time period because you feel there will be heightened engagement, or are you going to hold it in the chamber until you can support it with a live tour and so on and so forth in the future?
We're doing a bit of both. Since the quantity is a lot higher and the quality hasn't really been compromised, we're trying to put out some of the more chill stuff right now, which is
Okay.
easy listening, which can be programmed. So if you will go through any DSP right now, you'll see work from home playlist on top. You'll see chill at home playlist on top, etc. So all of these playlists right now have great programming scope. So anything acoustic, anything lo-fi is going to work really well on those. Other than that, even if you want to put out like a mainstream song, so for example, we work with this one rapper called Yashraj. He's our development project. He dropped his debut EP 2 weeks back. And Spotify has this one playlist called New Music Hindi, which is the highest engaging playlist overall. So we were able to land like a number 2 spot on the playlist, which in a normal scenario, one would never end up getting because there's so much of Bollywood coming out. But now you've got films which have been shelved for at least 3 months. They don't have content which they can use to promote those films. So
you're filling that void, basically.
There's a lot of, there's a big void for discovery for a lot of new artists. So we're definitely banking on that as well. But the long-term plan is obviously to put them out with better time releases.
That's awesome. So, I mean, this is a question for both of you guys. I mean, obviously, brands are in the same boat that we are. Brands have obviously, they had a lot of plans over the course of the year. They had budgets allocated to all of those different projects. And now a lot of those projects cannot move forward because of the coronavirus situation. So how has your interaction with brands been? Have you found brands are more open to exploring the digital space? Are brands approaching you? Are you approaching brands? What's your read on sort of brand money during the coronavirus pandemic?
Okay, personally speaking, it's been a sort of a mix of both. Mostly it's been us knocking on brands' doors because, you know, the need is ours. At least what I sense is that there's as much confusion on the brand end that as much as there is on the artist end. Everyone's like onto this digital streaming bandwagon where everybody wants to be a publisher, drive people onto a page, but that's like damn short term. The money's peanuts, and it really doesn't get anything for anyone. That's my personal opinion, because it just kind of dilutes what your brand is, what your artist is, their access is, what they stand for. And at any given time, you have like 20 artists going live off your Instagram page. And I mean, and since everybody's just at home, that novelty is worn off very quickly. Like,
absolutely.
Ideally, that curve, which should have been longer, has been really short. So I personally still sense a lot of confusion from brands because, yes, some have still been extinguishing budgets that have been parked, but this quarter is real. There's no sales. So there's actually no sales. So when it comes down, when the next quarter hits, I mean, their revenue is also going to take a tank, and everything is going to be far more sales driven than marketing or brand driven.
Totally. If they have no revenue coming in, they have no money to spend. It's a pretty simple
exactly.
equation.
You might have like a really good brand manager friend who's allocated some budgets that you might wing through maybe for 1 month, 2 months. But like from a very strategic perspective, I haven't yet seen a brand that says, okay, let's go with it, because I don't really think so anybody really knows what to expect in the next 2-3 months or 3-4 months.
But don't you feel that in some ways, by the way, I mean, I totally agree with you that the live stream thing is getting extremely exhaustive and repetitive. I don't want to see any more DJs stream online. I mean, I'm kind of over that. What I feel is that the live streams that are really going to survive, or the people who will really be able to pivot to digital successfully, are people who put somewhat of a more structured format in place, you know,
Yes.
something that actually has got some sort of a narrative to it, some sort of a format that can be repeated multiple times with
Some
different
kind of
people to kind
production
of,
value that ups what.
it has to be higher than just something at home. But so Ayushman, what's your response from brands kind of been like?
So April and May are normally when we go out to the market to pitch, because those are when fresh
Sure.
budgets have come in, etc. And that's what we've been working on so far. Not a lot of them are still like, let's test waters and see how it goes. We still don't know how it's going to move out. They're expecting it to get better in 3 months, but like Nikhil said, no one's really going to focus on the brand anymore. It's going to be very sales driven. But at the same
Sure.
time, we've been able to lock campaigns with brands like, say, for example, Swiggy, where we're doing like a Corona specific campaign for them. We're
Okay.
working with a bunch of OTT platforms. Like we did something for Netflix, we're doing something with Hotstar. We're working with content creation platforms like TikTok right now, and they've seen a lot of engagement on their platform.
Sure.
So the brand monies have been diverted a lot towards these other alternative platforms too. And
Do you think that's sustainable though over time? Do you think they're going to stay in the digital game, or is it just like, okay, we'll do it now because of the situation that we're in?
So some of them are trying to ride the Corona narrative. Those guys, it's obviously going to be a very short-term thing. But like your OTT platforms are obviously going to stick on for a lot longer than
Sure.
traditional
Of
brands,
course.
and they're going to
Of course.
continue to spend. And if they see that an artist is being able to drive a good amount of engagement to their platform, I think that can culminate into a much bigger association at the end of the day. At the
So it's
same
going to
time,
be basis. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, at the same time, when we're pitching to any other brand, I mean, we've added an additional 3 slides now on stay-at-home concepts, which we can create for them, which we can work with them, and see how that can fit into their overall brand narrative as well. So we're trying to spoon feed everything to them right now, saying that this is what we can do for you.
I was gonna say the same thing. You know, like I mean, as far as like a lot of these brands being sort of clueless about how to engage in the digital space, I feel like the onus kind of relies on us, right? Like we need to basically go to the brand and say, in the simplest of terms, look, this is what we can do for you, and this is how it's going to play out. Boom, 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 and this is what it's going to cost.
Exactly. So they don't understand the artist as well as we as their managers would understand our own talent. So it's always better for us to spell it out for them, so that this is what we can do.
Cool. So I wanna kind of like look to the future now a little bit. All of us on this panel manage artists. Now, you know, let's look at a situation where lockdown has been lifted. You know, we all of a sudden are allowed to book shows again. People are allowed to travel. So it's kind of a two-part question. A, do you think that the artists will be willing to go and start touring again? Obviously, there's health risks associated with the amount of travel that artists do and all of that. So that's part number one of the question. Part number two is, audience aayega. Do you think that the public is actually going to show up to shows, or do you feel that it's going to be some other period of time before the public is happy to come to busy populated shows again? What's your take on that? How do you think artists are going to react, and how do you think audience is going to react post lockdown?
I personally think that, see, most of the artists that I'm speaking to are pretty much game to like get out and start doing stuff. Yeah. And
but is that a function of them not being able to open up other revenue streams, or is it that, you know, they're really dependent on this money, or
both?
Okay.
Also, see, man, the honest fact is that we don't consider a lot of times is that we assume that artists have been locked down with their gear, which might be the case with some, like, you know, tier 1, tier 2 artists who can afford it, but most of the alternative underground culture doesn't have gear. They depend on studios, friends gear, like, you know, meeting, collaboration, coming to a point, recording.
Sure.
So a lot of them just have been locked in the house. So even if they want to do, like, you know, alternative things, like, you know, record, produce, it's not easy for them because 90% of them, like, you know, don't have gear, or they depend on, you know, friends gear, or like, you know, there's always a mic being borrowed, there's always tech being borrowed. So that's been the case. So a lot of these artists would rather get out and like meet other artists, meet other producers, go to studios, do
No, but what about gigs specifically, where there's 500 folks together in one space? Like,
artists that I've spoken to, like we manage like Swadesi and Zake is completely into street art, so like his life is about going out. And this whole concept is around based on being out on the streets and doing art. So he for one can't wait. The rest of the dudes, yes, they want to get out and gig because they mostly see potential right there, because street music is something that skill keep putting on. As far as the audience goes, as I personally think it's not going to be a volume game anymore. People will come, but those business models basis where you base like 5,000 6,000 people ticket sales, that's gonna like completely change. It's still going to be less, it's going to be exclusive, our costs are going to go up, but I do feel people are going to invest more because they'll see it as a premium experience where I really want to go out but I need to know that it's safe. So I'll go out to the people who ensured it's safe, and I don't mind paying like maybe a grand extra.
so you're saying smaller gigs, more focus on health and safety, and higher quality gigs.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Aayushman?
I think something which we're looking at doing now is really producing what both of you all have already been doing very successfully. Is even we want to start producing our own events now, because I think we can control the health and safety aspect a lot more in that. And it brings a sort of comfort to the audience as well, to know that the artist is the one who's put together this entire concept, and the artist will make sure their fans are taken care of. And I completely agree that I feel like there's going to be an increasing number of people who will be willing to buy tickets now rather than wanting to get onto a guest list, or rather than wanting to enter through a normal club experience. So that's definitely going to happen. What I also see in the future is a lot of artists are going to start creating their own IPs. This is time for them to get very creative with their own shows as well. And everyone's going to come out with their own kind of concept night, which is going to become their trademark touring concept as well, which is what we're looking forward to.
Okay. Cool. So we're nearing the end of the chat, and I think one nice way to kind of end this discussion will be, I think there's probably a lot of young artists, young DJs, young producers watching this and trying to learn from people who are in the industry. If I could ask you both for one piece of advice that you could give to a young musician or a young producer who's stuck at home and just kind of wondering what they do, is this a field worth pursuing anymore? Is this something that they can make a living in? What is one sort of pointer that you could give them? Let's start with Aayushman.
I think the most basic one would be to complete as much music as you can, because that's where you can channel your energy as well. That's where most artists find their happy space as well. So try and put in as much time into working on your own music. People are more open to collaborating right now. You don't have to do the entire song on your own. You can ship it across to 3 different people, get them to work on it, and come back to you. This is also a time when big budgets are now going to come together for videos, etc. So the more creative someone gets, be it as simple as an illustration, etc., will work a lot more. So for the new artists, it's a great time to kind of stand out with just the power of their art, because the bigger guys are going to wait it out a little longer till they can shoot a proper video, etc. to put out.
Sure.
So for new artists, this is a great time for discovery. This is a great time to explore new music. This is a great time to work with different people. Just, I think, focus on your art more than anything else right now.
Awesome.
Think of alternative ways to record. Think of alternative ways to track your vocals, or to for producers, it's obviously a lot easier, but just think of alternative ways to move forward.
Cool. Nikhil?
I think it's the artist's time to focus on their art. Like, nothing can be more important than that. Cause of coronavirus, the whole service-based economy has gone down the drain. So there's not, you don't need to focus on marketing. You don't need to focus on the middleman. You don't need to focus on the promoter. So all that's out of the way. So all you need to do is focus on your art, and that'll speak for itself. The collateral noise has died down. Good thing or bad thing, we don't know, but it has. And multitask, do more, and don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, I think that's really the key takeaway from this whole thing. Whether you're a streaming platform, or your management, or you're an artist, I think really this has been a big wake-up call that you can't really depend on one stream of revenue. And the quicker you're able to diversify, the better chances you have of longevity. I want to thank you guys for taking the time for this panel. If there's anything else you'd like to add, now would be the time. Otherwise, thanks a bunch, guys.
I think we should.
Sure.
Thanks, Tej.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
This too shall pass.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
Cool, man. See you around.
Bye.